And the important part about it, I like to say that fiction is a lie, but good fiction is the truth inside the lie.
Hey everyone, what's going on? Back with a new book review. Today I'm talking about one of my all-time favorite books under the name of Richard Bachman. For those who don't know, Richard Bachman was the pseudonym for Stephen King, and we are talking about The Long Walk. As you can see here, I have the Bachman books, and in the Bachman books you have 4 of his very earliest works, which you have Rage, The Long Walk, which we're going to talk about today, The Running Man, and Roadwork. Now, I love having the Bachman books actually instead of, each individual book, because also Rage is like impossible to get by itself. But it's nice to have the collection because these aren't rare, but it's just nice to have the old collection of books that he has written back in the late 70s, which again, The Long Walk was published in 1979. It was his second book under Richard Bachman. So as we discuss this book, we're going to talk about why it's my favorite and just a whole bunch of other things as well. And I'm really excited with this because this story is like very fast paced in a way. It's not that many pages. Like in the Bachman book, it's about like, I think maybe 180 pages. I could be wrong about that. Let me know in the comments. Individually, I don't know off the top of my head what it is, but it's a very short read, very quick read, and I'm glad I finished it really soon because I'm excited to talk about it. So let's jump right in, everyone.
And here we go.
So by 1979, King was known as a prolific and amazing writer and the king of horror as he is today. So when he's been talking about, he's published already, Carrie, Salem's Lot, The Shining, all of that. In The Long Walk, it depicts a story of 100 competitors, all of whom are teenage boys throughout this story, and it is a very interesting way of how King described his horror, and again, the way it just does it just by The Long Walk itself. So again, this is a competition where these teenage boys will be going off onto a long, endless walk where they are just keep walking until obviously one reaches the end, and then the one winner is obviously the winner of the long walk. Now it seems kind of boring as I say it that way.
Oh, come on!
But as you dive on in, you understand what the details are and what is on the line when you have entered into the long walk. Now, before we get into the main characters of the story, the details about the long walk is, again, they are going on an endless walk. They have to average a speed of 4 miles per hour as they are walking. If they get below the 4 mile per hour mark, or if they stop or do something, they receive a warning. Now, if you get 3 warnings and after your 3rd warning is up, you get shot dead right on the scene. This is not a spoiler by any means, but this is a part of the long walk and the horror and the gore that's all behind this. And it's so amazing. Sick, I know. King has found so many ways of, portraying horror and all this stuff with the long walk. And again, as they go through and more characters start getting shot and dying off, it's just like you're in the book and you're on the walk with them. So our main character, and I'm really going to talk about him because there are some other characters that obviously he becomes close with on the long walk, but we were talking about Raymond Garrity. He goes by Garrity by all the people that talk to him throughout the long walk, but Raymond Garrity signed up for this long walk, and there's the backstories of kind of a few of the main characters that why they signed up for the long walk and stuff. But as they put in, they had to go through this physical test but also a mental test to see if they were qualified to get into the competition. Now, as Raymond Garrity and many of others walk through this, again, there are some other characters known as McVries, Olsen, and there's just a whole bunch of other different characters that just have different ways of how they are, different ways of how they portray the long walk, and different ways of how they actually kind of interact with each other. Some stay away from each other, some don't talk, some are actually very vocal and very cocky. So it's really interesting to see a mixture of 100 boys and different characters with different personalities. As they go on the journey, they're going through a long walk, and on the long walk, they are actually crowds. Like if you think of a parade, well, think about the people that are on the sides in parades. That's like the long walk. They are actually watching this as it's just a regular parade. So like when a person gets shot dead after their 3rd warning, the crowd is going nuts and they are applauding. Sickness, I know, but I love it. As they walk through and more people start getting eliminated because they can't keep going, like their feet are killing them, blisters, they're bleeding through their shoes, again, they're exhausted, dehydrated, some of them get sick on the way too because it's raining. It is during the springtime, but again, the mixture of all this, and obviously when fatigue hits you very hard, all you want to do is just sleep. And some of these characters are walking while basically sleeping. So you want to say it's sleepwalking, but they're trying to obviously keep moving at a pace and just shut their eyes to rest because it is so exhausting on this journey. So each teenage boy has a belt with a food supply. It's kind of like purified type of broken down food so they can eat it through like kind of like toothpaste, which is kind of disgusting to think about it.
Oh, that's nasty. You're nasty.
And they also get their own canteen. Now, when they run out of water on the canteen, they can just ask for more, and the people that are following them, which are like cops or police, to obviously make sure that they are walking at the pace, and if they stop, then they are shot dead right at the scene. They are there to refill the canteens, and then obviously the pace and the food that's in their belts can only last them long enough till the next day, and then they will get a new replenish of food for that. So they have to be very cautious of when they eat their food. And again, while they're walking, they are obviously getting exhausted, so they want water, and it's nice that they can just keep getting their canteen filled up. But when they start running out of food, that's it until the next morning. So again, like I mentioned, there's a crowd watching them on the sidelines and stuff. They're going through different towns. They are walking an endless journey until obviously their death. So there's gonna be the one winner. Obviously won't tell you the winner of that one, but there is a very interesting way of how it ends. And with the winner being a very close one, I will say it was really, really close to who the winner is. At the end of it, it was like, not a cliffhanger, but it's like, it kind of leads into something that could just keep going. It's kind of like a long walk that just never ends, which is kind of like ironic in a way, or redundant, but it's really cool how Stephen King kind of ended it. It is kind of weird though, for some people probably don't like the way that happens. Now, Stephen King is notorious for having some kind of like bad endings.
It's funny because it's true.
But like I mentioned, this is my all-time favorite Richard Bachman book. The Richard Bachman books I always enjoyed. There are some obviously better than others, but with the Richard Bachman book in The Long Walk, he's made this such a great book to just keep reading all the way till the end. Like I mentioned, it's not long at all. If you go through and read it, I highly guarantee you will enjoy it as well. I give this book 5 stars. This has not changed like one of my tier lists, or obviously like in Goodreads, because this is, again, like I said, like a broken record, my favorite all-time Richard Bachman book. Again, before I end this, I want to talk about, again, Stephen King as Richard Bachman. It talks about this in the Bachman book, but also discuss like why he chose to be Richard Bachman. It is a very interesting backstory. I didn't talk about this, I think, a little bit briefly with Rage. And if you haven't checked out Rage, I'll leave the link in the description for that, along with my Stephen King tier list, which is, again, over 20,000 views. So I thank everyone who has viewed it and liked it. So it means a lot to me. Thank you very much. But again, The Long Walk, the way he tells the story, the way he wrote the Richard Bachman books is very interesting to who he is as Stephen King, and obviously the Stephen King multiverse. All right, there are ways that he could have kept going as Richard Bachman, but then also he kind of put that to bed after his last one, which was Thinner, I believe. I could be wrong on that one. Let me know. But again, Richard Bachman and Stephen King as one. You want to think of like a different personality between each of them, but they like have their same similar ways. But also the way he wrote as Richard Bachman is maybe not as, successful to some of you as he wrote as Stephen King. Because, when you think of Stephen King and Richard Bachman, Stephen King's name is just on top of the greatest authors of all time, like my opinion. Okay, but if you think of Richard Bachman, for those who don't know that Richard Bachman is Stephen King, then they're like, oh, who the hell is this guy? That's why I like the interesting story about how he became Richard Bachman. But again, Stephen King, with my Stephen King shelf right there, it is obviously awesome to hear and read all of his books. And when Stephen King was in some kind of interviews and stuff on live TV, it was really awesome to listen to and watch some of his interviews talking about his books and like some of his favorite books and characters as well.
You once said that the readers are interested in your secrets, not in what you've read. Meaning what?
Well, it goes back to what I was saying earlier about how if I give an interview about my career, what I do for a living, sooner or later somebody will kind of say, by the way, what was your childhood like? Yeah. People want to know where the bodies are buried. Yeah. They want to know what twisted me to do what I'm doing, and the truth is even more horrible. The answer is nothing. I'm just this way naturally.
All right, everyone, that is it. Thank you for stopping by. Again, this was a very quick read, so I wanted to get this video up as soon as I could. Again, I will have more music reaction videos coming soon. So again, if you haven't already, hit the like and subscribe button. Let me know. Comment in the comments below if you, again, like the Richard Bachman books, like anything with Stephen King. I really want to talk to back and forth with my audience, not just about books, but also about music. If you want to talk about music and comment in this one about music, by all means, I'm willing to do that. Or if I do a music reaction video and you want to talk about different Stephen King books or horror books in general, or thriller, any type of genre for that matter, I'm all ears, all right? So I love interacting. Again, I will talk about this because my viewers and my subscribers make this channel possible. I'm slowly creeping up to 1,000 subscribers, and that has been always a big goal of mine since I started this channel back in 2021 or 2022, one of those. So thank you all for very much. And like I always say, my friends, please read your book cover to cover. We'll see y'all later.